share with the audience. We usually come with 3. We're only going to do a short thing, so it's just going to be a conversation. Movies, TV, food, books, comics, whatever you consider an input that you've been enjoying over the last week or so, this is where you share it. If you say Under the Dome, Troy, I swear to you. All right, so let's introduce ourselves. Let's start on that end, and we'll work our way this way. And give your social media, too. We've got an all-star lineup tonight.
Sure.
Except for Alil.
My name is Alil Kanitsa. I do a podcast called the League of Geeks podcast, and it's Geeks with a Z. I'm on Twitter at LOGEEKZ.
All right. Next to you is...
I'm James Wilder. I'm a writer, and I also do a podcast called 10,000 Dawns, which is a serialized fiction story read every week with a different chapter as a podcast episode. And you can find that on jameswilder.com and on the Southgate Media website.
Yep, SouthgateMediaGroup.com. It's on there. iTunes, Stitcher, all over the place. And next to you, special guest.
I am special guest Troy Heinrichs. I do a podcast called The Blacklist Exposed for NBC's The Blacklist. I also am a regular on Remake This Movie Right, where we take movies from our 80s that are getting remade today, and we actually tell Hollywood how to make them better, because they've all sucked so far. And then I also do a brand new podcast called 11/22/63, the Hulu production of Stephen King's fantastic novel about going back in time and stopping and saving JFK. That just started. Spoiler.
I'm kidding. The book's been out forever.
Yeah, exactly. We just started that.
James Franco, right?
James Franco, yeah. And first episode dropped last Monday. Episode 2 drops this, and we'll talk about that obviously during Input Junkies tonight.
Oh, spoiler!
I am not on the Southgate Media Network.
How is that possible?
I know. Rob
What are
just
you
said
on?
comes over. I actually work for Golden Spiral Media, which started up with the Fringe podcast.
Yes.
And that's, of course, where the Golden Spiral comes from, Fibonacci sequence and all of that. So we've just grown the network over the years, much like Rob has, all starting about 2012.
You know, today I was interviewed on Scannerdrome, which they do a YouTube show, and they have a podcast. Really great. The reason we know them is they live tweet with us on stuff all the time. We're always writing. So today I got to actually put faces to them. But ironically, when I brought up the name Troy, she went, Troy Heinrichs? I love Troy and Wayne. I used to listen to him on the Fringe podcast. So, you got a name check on there.
Everywhere.
So.
It's like, and I did you too. I was on a webinar this Thursday.
Yes.
And we mentioned about how we all met from Under the Dome days. There I go. I got one in.
Yikes.
So Rob and I did Under Dome podcast. And then we ended up, I heard Rob on it at one time, and he was like, yeah, I got to go do this thing in McHenry. And I was like, McHenry? That's like in my backyard.
Right.
So that's how we ended up meeting. And so I got shout out for Southgate Media Group on the webinar this week too.
So, wow, my favorite input was having Troy, Alil, and James here. So I'm done. Good night, everybody. All right, so who wants to start with one? Somebody got one?
All the warm and fuzzies.
Yes.
I watched Steve Jobs today.
Oh, the
How was it?
Michael
Fassbender one.
How was this? Well, obviously good if you're putting it on your input.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I watched it today, so it was an input.
Oh, God, I want to see this one. I heard it is really excellent.
It is very good. It is. I didn't read the book, so I mean, for those who read the book, I guess you'll know. But if you look at just kind of like Steve Jobs and what you know of him, you just have this one kind of, I guess, version of him in your mind.
Right.
You see this and it's kind of insane. This guy is just
his life.
He was not a very nice person.
No.
And it was a crazy movie. Has anybody seen that? Has anybody seen?
I want to see it. I haven't.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I have the
This
book.
is the Aaron Sorkin
So
one.
the movie, and I'm not giving away really anything here, but it's basically it's 3 release points for his release of the Macintosh,
Right.
his release of the Next, and then his release of the iMac. So it's like 3 separate little stories that happen the day of those releases. It's crazy how many things happen to him each of those days.
The book is based on the Steve Jobs book, right?
I think the movie is based, yeah.
Because that's not how that's structured.
Well, that's how it's structured here. So it's it's got stuff from 80 was 84 with the Macintosh release. So you get that step in time. You get a little bit of backstory when you get it to the next level, but it's not a lot. You get some little fill in it.
When you read the book,
done very well.
You would think this should be a maxi series, like a 16 episode Netflix thing, because there is so every chapter could be an entire hour filled with stuff. This guy's life is crazy.
Yeah.
So is it kind of like the Spielberg Lincoln movie, where just focused on one thing he did rather than his whole life.
Right. It's a little bit like that because it's actually, it's kind of his
three.
It's his, it's his. It's basically kind of like a rise and fall kind of thing, or a fall, a rise, fall, and rise kind of.
Did you see it, Troy?
Kind of 3-part.
I have not seen it yet. I saw the Ashton Kutcher one.
Yeah, was that good?
I thought it was okay. I mean, being Apple people ourselves, you have this like persona of what Steve Jobs is, and I think Ashton Kutcher really put himself into the role as much as he could. So I mean, it was enjoyable. It wasn't a great movie, but you got something out of it. I actually watched the what was it, iJobs, the Funny or Die production. I thought that was hysterical. I thought that was absolutely awesome to see Jorge Garcia play Wozniak. It was so funny.
I would watch him do anything.
Wozniak in this was Seth Rogen.
Oh, so that's even better.
Oh, fantastic!
And he was actually really good. Like
I heard he was.
And they had like a really again, like I grew up in this era. I remember having my neighbor had a Macintosh and like playing with it. I remember the iMac coming out and like wanting one so bad.
My first computer, Apple II Plus. My dad had the Macintosh
and like
forever.
So you watch all this, you watch all this stuff, and they go with very, very short flashbacks, like really quickly. Like you'll see Jobs and Wozniak in the garage, where they're talking about it, and Jobs is one way with how he wants things done. Wozniak is the other, and you just kind of see that little timeline. But it's very interesting way how they did it, just with basically 3 snippets in time for his story.
And one of these releases is the next Cube.
But yeah, exactly. So it was the next, it was the Macintosh, the next Cube, and then the iMac.
Which I think is really interesting then, because I think everybody thinks of Steve Jobs as iPod forward.
Right.
And he forgets that he had this like maniacal focus to get the Mac out,
right,
which literally cost him his company. And then literally everything he does at Next is really what makes Apple Apple.
Right.
So really Apple isn't Apple, Apple is Next.
I really recommend reading the book. It was the biography that came out right when he died. It is outstanding. First of all, the writer is the same guy he's written great biographies. He wrote that Ben Franklin one that's great. He wrote the Einstein one that's great. It's really fantastic. But I have another recommendation. So now that you've seen the movie and you mentioned he's not a nice guy, after he died, everyone, it was all over everything, right? Wired did an issue, so I'm telling you to seek it out, where they basically broke down like him as a leader. And when you read this, man, it does not paint a pretty picture, but at the same time you read it and you're like, I get what he did. I get what he is. It was a fantastic issue of Wired.
You know what? And I think the movie tells you that, because there's a scene between toward the end.
He makes no bones about it either.
No, it's not with him and Wozniak. And Wozniak is calling him out. Like, basically, what have you done? You don't know how to write code. You don't know how to do any of this stuff.
Right. And
so Jobs goes into this, the speech about, they're in an orchestra pit before the release of the iMac. And he's telling Wozniak, basically what is the job of the conductor, to play the orchestra. Your job is to play the instrument.
He's so right.
And like how he was saying that, you're just watching and you're like, yeah, you're a jerk, but you are right. Like, it's just like that. Well, and that is how you lead. You
he
might
also
not
had
be
vision.
Yeah, exactly. You might not be the best guy or the nicest guy, but you know what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. Like, in like the whole, because you hear about Steve Wozniak, you hear all that, and just hearing like, seeing like him, Seth Rogen in that role, it was very well done. Like, the movie was great. Fassbender was terrific. I didn't even realize that was Kate Winslet, who was like his assistant throughout the whole thing. It was a great movie. So
awesome. All right, Troy, you want to go? We don't have to go in order here. Let's let Troy go.
Sure. So we'll start out with 11/22/63, which dropped on Hulu, episode 1 this past.
So are they dropping it week by week?
They are, which is really interesting. So Netflix and Amazon have this concept of dropping everything at once, so you can literally sit in your
binge it.
Underwear for like 13 hours and watch all of it at once. And
you don't have a camera in my house, do you?
Exactly. I do that. Looks like my house, probably. You alienate your family. So the nice thing about this is Stephen King, when he wrote 11/22/63, it's not one of the Stephen King books you would think of, like Carrie or Salem's Lot, or one of these like creepy horror type things. This was a really well thought out, and even though it's about going back in time to save JFK, the time travel component is really a giant MacGuffin in the whole thing, because it's really a story about love and stepping out and taking action when you'd never had a chance to take action before. And so to see these things come to life on the small screen and what James Franco is bringing to the character and all the other cast members that are coming in, and then having Bridget Carpenter, who did Friday Night Lights and Parenthood, and now she's working with J.J. Abrams and the Bad Robot people. I mean, this is just
A bunch of hacks.
I mean, you get goosebumps thinking about it because there's so much attention to detail in this show.
Yeah.
Like they go back in time in the first episode and you see Lisbon Falls. I would say Lipson because we're always on Lipson for the podcasting. They go to Lisbon Falls, Maine, and they're back in the case of the book, they go to 1958. And in the show, they have to, of course, speed that up for television. So they go back to 1960.
Okay.
And so they're going to squeeze everything from 58 to 60 into the frame of 60 to 63. And you just come out in Lisbon Falls and you're like, oh my gosh, this looks exactly how I envisioned it in the book. And when that happens, there's an immediate connection.
James Franco good in it? Because I like James Franco. I think he can be really good. Is he good in it?
Should have been Scott Bakula.
Shut up. I love Scott
At
Bakula.
first, I never read the book, and so when I saw the Hulu trailer, I'm like, "Is this Quantum Leap?" What is it?
So this is the best part about
Ziggy's in it.
There are so many time travel references that if you're like us, you probably get it, but the general audience would never know it was in there. For example, when you go into the concept is you go into this diner, and the diner you go into the closet, much like the phone booth back there here at the Blue Box. And you go in, you come out, same date, same time, every single time. In the case of the TV show, it's October 21st, 1960.
Oh, so if you go in now and you come out, that's when you're coming out of
every single time. So when you come back up to the present.
So it's almost like there's portals, time portals that are fixed points in time.
Just this one. And when you come back to the present, only 2 minutes has passed. But if you go back in again, the entire, whatever you did back there, resets back to October 21st, 1960, every single time. And what's interesting about that...
I think James needs to be alone. He's enjoying this quite a bit.
I want to watch this right now. Can we just pull it up?
Exactly.
Sit here and stare at it for a
We're
while?
going to just watch this the rest of the night.
But what you don't know is October 21st is a red letter date in future, not history, because October 21st is the day that Marty McFly goes to the future.
Right.
And there's all kinds of this like nod to Back to the Future. He's wearing a Chuck Berry shirt as he's walking down the street.
Nice.
I mean, there's so much of that. And then, of course, you have the J.J. Abrams Bad Robot component. So when he goes to the motel, he actually goes into room number 8 for 8, 15, 16, 23, 42 from Lost. And just that kind of stuff is all over this. And
this is
so
going to
good.
make me crazy. I cannot wait to see this.
Yeah.
I saw the trailers on Hulu, and I thought it was going to hit my wheelhouse. Everything you're saying, it's freaking me out. I got to get home and watch this thing. But I want to binge it. That's the problem. Although I agree with Hulu. I think this method is going to work for them. But, oh, man, I want to just binge this thing.
We started the podcast 4 weeks ago. We did like the standard, this is why we're doing the podcast. We did the two-episode book review because it's a giant book. It's like 33 hours long if you do the audio version. And then we did a like character preview and a panel from Sundance and said, hey, here's it. Put it all out there. We did the first podcast. It dropped on like 10:58 Eastern Sunday night. So it actually came out early because it's supposed to come every Monday. It was supposed to start on President's Day. Go figure. And then when it came out, we watched it and everything. We got 30 minutes of listener feedback for the podcast.
Wow.
In one day. This is a new media concept, podcasting, talking about new media Hulu.
Right.
And 30 minutes of content.
You're tweaking me with all that.
I was like, this is crazy. Like these people who's watching Hulu? I mean, Hulu's where you watch your last night's TV shows that you forgot to DVR.
We're watching Hulu. We watch all those British shows, all that stuff. We want Hulu to make us the official podcast network, and we will watch the hell out of Hulu.
Oh, yeah.
They have all those Criterion movies. That alone will keep me going.
Well, this is the year of Hulu. They are spending buco dollars on their drama department.
They have to hire us. She's not even listening, so this will never happen. All right.
They're talking to my wife, apparently.
Yeah, right? You know what? This is how it goes. Nobody listens to us.
But yeah,
this is why we podcast, so somebody will listen to us.
Yeah, 11/22/63.
And still no one listens.
Yeah, Will's wife isn't even here. She's like, I'm not even listening to anything.
And the best part about this, it's eight. I hate to do it again, Rob.
What?
It's supposed to be an 8-part, 9-hour event series.
That's what happened with Under the Dome. And
what
happened.
I know. And even though the time travel portal's cool.
But you know what? The elements here I won't have a problem if they figure out a way
to
keep
do
going.
it. Yeah.
If they do this sounds awesome.
Yeah, and when you find out what happens at the end of the book with the whole saving the president and who he falls in love with and how it all plays out, if they do half as good of a job as the book, it will be a success.
You know, it's funny that
they stuck to the elements of Under the Dome too.
Right. It's funny that you bring this.
But remember though, Under the Dome, they bought the idea. Stephen King bought the idea of Brian K. Vaughan doing Under the Dome. Brian K. Vaughan left at the end of season 1, and that's when it went to poo-poo in a handbag.
Yeah, and you know what? Brian K. Vaughan, I have much better feelings about.
Exactly.
I love Brian K. Vaughan. So, all right, I'm going to bring up. It's funny that you brought this up. I'm going to bring up another one that I haven't watched, so I guess it kind of sucks. But Gary was here earlier. He's been on the podcast before. He collects comics and stuff. He brought one up. Have you guys seen the show The Librarians?
I've seen the TV movies. That
the original
show's based
3.
off.
Yeah,
I haven't
the
seen
trilogy.
Noah Wiley.
Yeah, but he said that in the last one, he said you've got to watch the season finale this season. He goes, there's a point when they go in the back of the library, and there's all these time travel references, like you said. And he said there's like a tarp, and you can clearly see it's the TARDIS under the tarp. And like he said, it was just stuff like that. He said there's a DeLorean back in there, and he said you're just like, oh, all this time travel stuff. It's awesome.
I have to say, The Librarians, I saw, because we were watching Falling Skies, and then The Librarians came right on when Falling Skies ended.
Yeah.
I have to say, from watching the original 3 movies, which they're made for TV movies, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it was enjoyable and watchable.
Yeah, the writing was funny. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Noah Wiley. I mean, it's not too bad. And then you go into this television series. The television series actually works better.
I'm going to have to
than the
watch it
movies.
because I love Falling Skies.
And I really
as you
like
know.
the TV movies, actually. So
Yeah, it just never hit. It's one of those things that I figured I'll watch it at some point.
It's like Warehouse 13, but less quirky.
You know what? I watched. Okay, the last season of Warehouse 13 is garbage. I haven't watched that show, but I watched the pilot. That was pretty good show. I mean, it's not great, but for a sci-fi show, it was a good time to watch, man.
It was.
And I heard it got really good in like the 4th season. Like people are like, if you can tough out that the first season's good, but then it gets really good, and then the 4th season's like amazing, and then it turns to garbage.
I don't know any shows that do that.
No, please.
yeah.
All right, James, what do you got?
All right. So this week, for the first time ever, I watched the 70s animated Hobbit movie.
Oh!
I watched that with Molly.
Yeah. So it has Hans Conried from the Bullwinkle cartoons as Thorin, which was a delight.
Yes.
Because Hans Conried, every single line of dialogue he says in anything kind of comes out like this. And it was kind of magical. I mean, it was only 70 minutes, and it was, the opposite of the Peter Jackson version, and it was very condensed down. But I had a good time with it. Smaug was a cat.
I've an interesting thing to tell you about it. So on the Now Playing podcast, when they did their Hobbit reviews, the one guy's dad worked on that.
Really?
Wow.
And he went through and he started talking about how the Peter Jackson one, he was citing all these things that he goes, this isn't in the book, it's from the animated one. So he said, if you watch it carefully, you'll see that they actually stole things from the animated movie to put into The Hobbit.
Well, they needed runtime.
So it's pretty interesting,
Yeah.
My mind is just
she
blown
didn't
right
love
now.
it, and I think it was because it's a little weird.
It is.
It
I
is.
mean, every time,
But the character design is awesm.
Yeah, and it
I
really
love
does
it.
have its own charm with, how every time anyone dies, it turns into this kaleidoscope of death. And
Well, it's like 70s trippy. It's awesome.
clearly meant to be enjoyed with something else as you watch the show.
yeah, and yet also clearly made for a television audience that they had to keep it G-rated, so you can't show death,
Right.
which it was a very different way of doing The Hobbit in that it was The Hobbit as a totally kids movie
Right.
in a way that I'd almost forgotten of thinking about it as.
Yeah, and Smaug is weird.
It's a cat, and I kept looking at Smaug with that funny voice.
Yeah, right.
Like I was,
It's not the Cumberbatch.
it is not Cumberbatch.
Which one's the YouTube? So someone out on YouTube has to take
right there.
the new Hobbit movie, right, Desolation of Smaug, and change Smog coming out in 3D and turn it into a cat face.
Or please put the voice
we
of the
video
old
guy,
one.
Israel. You should do that, Israel. That'd be awesome.
Put the voice of the old Smog over the new CG Smog.
That would
that'd be even better.
Amazing.
Do you have riddles?
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. So yeah, now they also did not the same production house, but Bakshi did the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and then
and that.
mhm.
They lost the funding while they were doing it to do the sequels. That was intended to be the whole thing. So to quickly wrap it up, they crammed in the end of Lord of the Rings into the end of the first one. So the first one's supposed to be Fellowship of the Ring, but it's all of a sudden wait, what the hell's going on? And it doesn't end. It doesn't have an ending.
Well, have you seen the Return of the King that Rankin Bass did? Yeah, which they it's sort of totally different animation style.
And it doesn't relate to the movie, the Lord of the Rings movie. It's so weird.
It opens with where we last left off after they didn't leave off there.
You didn't do anything. Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
But how great is Gollum in that animated one?
Oh yeah.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Love it. So that's a good one, man. Where'd you see it?
I saw
Stole it? No, I'm kidding.
No, I saw it just at a friend's house. I'd never seen it, so it was just like, come over, help me babysit my kid, and we can watch the movie. So that happened.
All right. Hey, I dig it. Oh, Lil, have you seen this one?
Yeah, I own them on DVD.
Okay. I figured.
Yes.
Yeah, though he had my friend had a big special edition gripe with it because apparently the DVD cuts out a lot of the sound effects for no reason. So he had this download of a high quality rip of a VHS or Betamax of it that has all the sound effects that they cut out for no reason.
This.
Yeah.
I heard about that. It might have been on that Now Playing. It's so weird that you're supposed to listen to it's like on YouTube. You can sync up the audio from the YouTube thing when you watch the DVD and it fills in the blanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
That was like listening to Battle for Endor over the radio, because they had a special thing that they actually played the audio over the radio so you could get it in your home theater surround system.
Cool.
Because the TV speakers were so bad back then.
I kind of love that. Yeah.
And then you watched Battle for Endor while they played on the radio. It was pretty amazing.
Except it was Battle for Endor.
Except it was Battle for Endor.
The rest of it was pretty amazing. All right, I'm going to throw one in here. I've got a couple, but I think we're going to run out of time, so we just want to maybe highlight one. But we've been binging the American version of Shameless. It's on Showtime. Does anybody watch Shameless? Anybody?
What's Shameless?
Huh? Okay, so just a few. So it's based on a British show that ran 9 seasons.
Wow.
And we started watching it, and there's an element of the storyline in the British one that was such an incredible turnoff that after 6 episodes, I can't watch this anymore. And I heard that ends pretty quickly, but it was such a turnoff. I'm not even, trust me. But the acting is actually pretty great in it. Not everybody, but James McAvoy is in it, and he's 17 when he was in this. That guy is unbelievable. He is such a good actor. So we were enjoying that, and this weird story element happened, and it lost us. But then our friends were saying that they love the American version, and it's got William H. Macy in it, and it's got Joan Cusack. Huh?
Was it Emma Rossum?
Yes. Yeah. And she's the lead girl. So we said, okay, we'll try it. And we told her about what we didn't like. She goes, oh, yeah, that's not in it. Guess what? It's in it. But it's handled completely differently. And it was so tolerable that it was over in one episode. And you went, okay. And there were repercussions, which there weren't in the other one to the point that we saw. And we're like, it was tolerable. But I got to say, man, it's a tough show. It's a tough show. They're despicable. Okay? William H. Macy is William H. Macy. He's really good in it. Joan Cusack is amazing in it. You just never want her to leave the screen. But there is, to me, I'm always big on the acting. I'm always big on the writing, and I'm big on all writing, directing, acting. I always look for those elements. This one has it all, but the acting in this thing, the kid that plays Lip, his name is Philip, but they call him Lip. This is the kind of performance that you go to bed, you're still thinking about this character and what he's going through.
Wow.
It's that strong. And then you think, and then you start watching again, you're like, and at one point he's despicable. Like, you're like, you idiot. I hate you. Please fix it because I love you. Like, it's that kind of show. It's
Almost Walter White-ish in a way.
yes, in a way. Yes. Maybe more despicable
Wow.
for other reasons. I'm telling you guys, try it. Just know it's a tough watch. Know that it's not, there are things that are funny. It's dramatic. It takes place, the American one takes place on the south side of Chicago. And it's this family. The dad is a complete drunk drug addict. It's William H. Macy. And he doesn't even live with the family. So it's Rowson. How do you say her name?
Emily
Rossum.
Yeah, Emily Rowson.
Rossum.
She's the oldest sibling, and she basically has stepped into the mother role, and she's taking care of all the kids. And Lip is when it starts, I think he's a junior in high school, and then his younger brother, he's got a younger brother that's like a year younger, who is the guy. This is amazing. Do you guys watch Gotham?
I used to.
Some of
All
it.
right, you will have seen this. Does anybody watch Gotham? Okay, the guy that is the Joker. You know how good he was in that, Jerome. I think he's great in that role. He's a younger brother in this.
Wow.
And he is amazingly good. I have nothing but good things to say about this. Even like the little girl, like you just, oh my gosh. And what's happening to her? And you're just like, she's like falling in love with this boy. And the whole time you're like, this boy is the worst thing in the world. He's the worst. And she's falling in love and you just want to like step in and be the dad and say, what are you doing? But then you look at her dad and you're like, he's even worse than the kid. But it's great. It's great. And par for the course, Joel Murray plays a scumbag who, spoiler, dies real quickly. He dies on everything. He's like in everything. Like he's got the role of Mad Men, dead, or he's a drunk and that's what happens here. Same kind of thing. It's great. It's fantastic. So Showtime, Shameless. Be careful if you try the European one. I liked it, but it's tough, man. When this thing happens, it's like, especially when it happens in the second episode. It happens in the second episode. You're like, I'm out. I never cash in. I watch everything. I was out.
I have two quick ones.
That was a filibuster. Yeah.
So 2 quick ones. Speaking of foreign stuff converted into American, The Returned, aka
that just came back, right?
Les Reverends in France, was actually based on a movie that then became a TV show, which then Carlton Cuse did for A&E, a remake of season 1, almost literally shot for shot.
I never watched it. It's good?
The A&E version was terrible.
A&E is terrible. Okay.
Terrible. Go watch the first season of The Returned on Netflix with subtitles because it's in French. The second season just dropped on Netflix like yesterday.
Okay.
It's
And that's the French one.
That's the French one. And I'm telling you, it's like from the get-go. It's like it didn't lose a step.
That was something that came across when I was doing the research for This Week in Geek. It said that the second season dropped, and like the comments were like, "It's fantastic." Have you seen it? Do you even know what this is?
I mean, if you've anybody seen The Leftovers on HBO or Resurrection on
I don't watch
ABC?
it. Everybody
haven't watched it.
Everybody loves The Leftovers that I know.
This is better than The Leftovers.
They said the
by a
first
mile.
season was okay. The second season, they're like, this is one of the best shows on TV, which is what I hear about Shameless, and I'm in agreement. So the French version on Netflix of The Return.
The Returned. And then, of course, anywhere I go, I tell every single person I can find, if you have not watched The 100, it's not The 100.
No.
It's The 100.
Yeah.
It is the most, I don't even know how to explain it. It is this, it's so not the CW. It is on the CW. It is the Teeny Bopper Network.
I watched the pilot, and I really liked it, but it was the CW.
Right. I'm telling you right now, you'll get through the first 3 episodes. They actually, Joel, who runs the show, got notes from the CW saying, don't do a CW show. Do something better. And after that 3rd episode, you're just like,
okay, I'm in.
wow,
Because we have
what
a
did I just
podcast
watch?
about it. Kristen and Dawn do the podcast, and they love it.
It is
And
probably,
I watched the pilot. I'm like, I don't know how they have this love, but okay.
by the time you get to the
It was good.
8th episode of season 2, some people said it was telegraphed. I didn't think it was telegraphed. What happens at the end of the 8th episode of season 2, you go, what in the heck is this show? because I cannot believe they're getting away with this on network television.
All right.
It is so good. And they just started season 3. They're about 4 or 5 episodes. And in total right now, it is literally only 34 episodes.
Oh.
So you could totally do it for the Binge-Worthy podcast and just get it all done in a weekend.
You hear that, Martha? No, she's not listening.
Right.
You can do it.
If you put your mind to it,
You can accomplish anything.
What were you going to say, James?
All right, I've got another quick one. We have the time.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, so I started playing Fable 3 this week because like a year ago, Microsoft gave me a free copy for something.
Played it.
So I start playing it, and the beginning of the game is just one of the most engrossing things I've ever played.
Really?
It drew me in so spectacularly. It knows exactly, it starts putting you towards this fairy tale, and then it pulls the rug out from under you in just ways you didn't expect. It's amazing. And so I started posting up on social media about how great the beginning of this game was, and then I got this inundation of messages, and everyone was saying, it's a trap. It's a trap. They didn't finish the game. They draw you in, and the rest is terrible. And I'm just like, oh no. So, I mean, I've been like texting my girlfriend pictures from like the screen of my TV with it. I was so excited. And now I'm just scared to play the rest of it because everyone was telling me the same thing about the rest of the game.
This feels like my Xenoblade Chronicles X experience on the Wii U, because it was like you got in and you were sucked in, and it's like, and then you get to the end of the story, and it's like, and the story ends, but the story doesn't end, and you could keep playing. Casey, my son, has put in over 200 hours on Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Get a life.
But it's like, because you just keep doing missions over and over and over and over and over and over. Mission.
My biggest heartbreaker, this is a game I love.
E.T.
BioShock.
BioShock's good.
The last scene is garbage.
Of which game?
BioShock.
The original.
Oh, okay.
Original.
I mean,
So you go through this amazing experience, and you have that reveal that's like astounding, and I'm like so engrossed, and I get to that ending, and I'm like, what's this crap? Not knowing it's the ending, and then it ends, and you go, like the worst chapter of the whole thing was the end, and it was garbage.
which ending did you get?
It was exactly like Under the Dome, the novel.
Yeah.
Such a great novel, and then.
Oh no,
Right at the end.
I went back and replayed it to get different
okay.
endings. They're all garbage. They're garbage.
It's like an M. Night Shyamalan
The
film.
rest of
Just
it
doesn't
is
know how to
amazing.
finish.
Yeah, right.
Like you've been Lindelof, is what we now say.
I like the ending. I didn't like the boss fight. Because
That's what I mean. The boss fight at the very end.
Oh, okay.
I'm only talking the boss fight. The ending was great.
Yeah, I like the ending cutscene, so it's just like
No, but the boss fight was
the boss
garbage.
fight was terrible. We can okay, yeah. All right.
So, Alil, did you have another one? I got one more thing. You got
Go
anything
ahead.
more? No? Alil's just ready to go. He's like, I want to go home.
I'm tired. I
I got
got
a podcast
I got
tonight.
7 hours of podcasting tonight. So
All right. I'm going to make it quick. We went to the library this week. Schaumburg Library is having a Comic-Con in a couple of weeks, which we're going to be doing a panel at. It's going to be fun. If you can make it, Schaumburg, Illinois, I think it's March like 3rd or something. But we were there, and we were like checking out their comic section, and I checked out the first 4 graphic novels for Game of Thrones. Have you guys read these? Yes. Have you guys read these graphic novels?
Is
Nine.
it the same as the show, or is it an extension of the universe, or is it a completely separate?
Same as the show, I'm going to say in quotes. The foreword alone is written by George R.R. Martin, and he talks about...
Wait, stop. You're telling me that he's spending time writing the foreword to comic books
George
instead of
R.R.
finishing
Martin
the
does
book?
not owe you anything.
These came out. This first one came out right when the show came out. Okay? So when the show first came out, and he references that, he's like, I had no idea how they could possibly make what I wrote into a TV show. It's getting good accolades. You know, hopefully it'll have a long life. And you're like, everybody loves it, George. But it's a great forward. Like, I loved reading it. But he talks about how the book is so drastically different from the show. And he says, when they approached me about the comic book, I thought, how? And he said, it is not a copy of the series. He goes, to him, the most interesting thing is that they solved problems that you can't film. On the show, they did tweaks. So, okay, we're going to change the story a little bit here to make it filmable. And he said, in the comic, there are points you're going to reach where they did the same solve, even though they hadn't seen the show. When they did the comic book, the show had not come out yet. Character designs are completely different. Everything's different. But he goes, they found similar things, and he goes, and then they also found other things that the show couldn't solve. He goes, that you really, if you're a fan, you really owe it for all three. He goes, please read the books, but if you're not going to read the books, at least read the graphic novel and watch this. And he was very involved in the graphic novel. I gotta say, I'm almost through the first one. It's so good. It's the only thing I'm having trouble with is character recognition because they don't look like the actors, and a lot of them look so similar. Long-haired white dudes.
Right.
I don't remember, but I gotta say, man, I am really, really digging it. If you get a chance, if you like the show, even if you're not going to take the time to read the books, read the graphic novel. And George R.R. Martin is down with you reading that too. He's like, look, it's different. It is. It's so good. It's like when you read those Star Wars Marvel books and you're like, but these are awesome. Like they're different.
Make this into a movie. It's like,
yes,
it's so good.
It is. That's how this is.
That's
so
awesome.
Recommended.
Mhm.
Guys, got anything else?
Well, if you're going to go graphic novels, then I have to bring up the fact that Nicole Phillips, who used to work on Fringe, she actually wrote episode 420 of Fringe, which was when Walter and Walter Nitt talked to each other for the first time. A real deep moving scene. It was awesome. She actually worked with Joshua Jackson on Beyond the Fringe, their graphic novel extension of the Fringe universe. So she ended up getting hired by the Blacklist people. And Nicole pitched all season one. You got to do a graphic novel. People want this extra content. You got to do it. And they kept shooting her down. And so at Comic-Con last year in the summer, she got the go ahead, and they released on Titan Comics the Blacklist first.
Right, I remember.
First, they're doing one black. There's actually 3 blacklisters in the issue in the first 5 series, but it's one story about the Gambler.
Okay.
And the Gambler actually gives us backstory a little bit into just before Red resurfaces in 1994. So you're learning things in these comic books that are actually canon to the show.
Yeah, see, I love that.
And series 2 is now the Arsonist, which ties directly into Lizzie's fire issues that she had in the show.
That's just like Joss Whedon doing the Buffy books.
Exactly
Where
like the
people
Buffy
are saying
comics.
that the Buffy comic series, like 6, 7, 8, and 9 or whatever, are better than the last couple of seasons of Buffy. They're like the comics they're getting it right, and it's still Joss Whedon guiding that. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah, so series 2 just...
That won't be happening with Under the Dome.
No, it will not.
Nope. IDW, do not pick that up.
Please.
Issue 7 just came out. So
Awesome.
if you, newsstands, go pick it up. Blacklist comic book is really good.
Because Spider-Man's not in it, but
No.
yeah. Is that it? Did we cover everything?
But speaking of Spider-Man, on 11/22/63, James Franco still looks like Harry Osborn, like to the T. Like I can't not see Harry Osborn when I see James Franco.
I agree. Spoiler, episode 8, he turns into the Hobgoblin.
Right.
All right. So,
All right. This week I also saw Barchester Chronicles for the first time, which it's a BBC drama adaptation of the old Barchester Chronicles novels from the 1800s. But it's the breakout role of Alan Rickman.
Oh,
And
shut up.
so a young Alan Rickman acting in a BBC costume drama, and he's just killing it in every scene. It's really worth watching, especially if you're looking for something you haven't seen with Alan Rickman to remember him by.
Yes.
He steals every scene he's in. Just go watch it. It's old, it's cheap, it's BBC.
Yes.
You know.
All right. That's it. We're going to end on that. Thank you guys so much. One more time, just give your social media. You are...
A little Kanitsa at the League of Geeks podcast at LOGEEKZ on Twitter.
You are...
James Wilder, jameswilder.com.
You are...
Troy Heinrichs at Troy Heinrichs on Twitter, at the Blacklist GSM, at 11/22/63 GSM Pod, and at Remake Right.
Cool. And I'm Rob Southgate, at R Southgate, at SMG Pods, or go to southgatemediagroup.com. That's it. Thank you, Blue Box. Thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
We'll be back.
Woo!